I call this Finance Committee meeting to order. Assignment for request for council action. We have a few. 15144 grant application, Ohio Airport Grant Program. 15145 2015 city auction. 15146 accept donation for fire safety trailer from Guilford Township. 15147 bids North Huntington Street reconstruction, city job number 978. And 15148 purchase of a plow truck for the streets department. The first item we have is 15144, a grant application from the Ohio Airport Grant Program. I think Mr. Huber, you know.
We were told by the state of Ohio that they instituted a grant program, but they left a narrow window for applying, and Dave Dennis from the state of Ohio suggested we put in an application for some monies toward the north-south taxiway renovation, which we need to have done. The taxiway renovation falls right into what the state of Ohio is looking to help with respect to these grants. So we got the application in the time period we were given, which was very narrow. I had the mayor sign it, but I need to have the council essentially ratify what our application. And we will see whether we receive any monies or not.
This is the one with the emergency clause in it.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
And put it in as an emergency, as we had to send it in about a week ago.
And I believe you received it on the 9th?
That was the FAA grant. That's another grant
Oh.
that we applied for.
This was another one with a short window.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
I move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, with emergency clause.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, 15145, the 2015 city auction. Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have scheduled the auction for November 14th, Saturday, same protocols prior. Viewing at 9, auction promptly starts at 10. Mr. Huber's looked at the contract with the auctioneer. He hasn't blessed it yet, but upon his approval of the contract, we'd like to have this ordinance as well.
Questions?
I actually looked at that ordinance this afternoon when Dawn gave it to me, and there was an indemnity clause in the contract. I lined it out. Other than that, the contract is fine.
Other question?
Any big items, Nino?
We do. We have the 1991 leaf back.
We tried last year, right? Or is that the-
It broke down towards the end of the season, about 2/3 of the way through, and then we replaced it with that new unit, which we were getting ready to bring out. But that's the big ticket item this year. There's PD has some cruisers. I think the SWAT truck, the old SWAT truck is, I haven't seen the list as it's being compiled here. We'd like to have it for you for the next, it's not obviously here tonight, but for the next council meeting.
Nina, what was the date?
November 14th is the date, and that's the date that the auctioneer was first available, so we were available whenever, but
Okay.
works best with his schedule.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 15146, accepting a donation of a fire safety trailer. Chief Banner?
Thank you, Mr. President. Back in 2007, Civil Guilford got a grant for a fire safety trailer. It's a 30-foot trailer, tandem axle. It's set up like a mini house inside. It's designed to teach the elementary age kids fire safety. There's a little smoke machine in it and an exit stair off the back and that. They used it one season and they restructured their school system, didn't have any more elementary, they just closed them all. So it's been parked in their garage since then, and they want to donate it to us to get better use. Thing's immaculate. It still has plastic on the carpet inside and stuff. It's very clean in that. So their township already passed a resolution on their end, and we just need to accept it on our end.
Questions?
Where are we gonna, I think it's a great idea. Where are we gonna store that outside, or do we
It's
have?
at Station 3 right now. They actually brought it up the other day.
Oh, okay.
It's sitting indoors.
Okay, well,
Move to approve.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 15147, bids on North Huntington Street reconstruction. Okay?
Thank you. This is a project, it was our last year's Ohio Public Works Commission projects, which grant funds that will reconstruct North Huntington from Highland, where we left off the last North Huntington project, down to West Union. Includes pavement, storm sewers, water lines.
And I don't know if we discussed this before, in the reconstruction, have we talked at all about straightening out the curve at all, or?
We are dampening it a little bit, but
Dampening,
not,
okay.
not tremendously.
Okay, good, thank you.
And what's the time frame that this will take?
We wanted to bid it this fall. Idea would be the underground work would start in the winter and paving in the spring.
Be completed by next fall?
Oh, yeah.
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carries. 15148, purchase of a plow truck from the street department. Mr. Facolo.
Thank you, Mr. President. You can see we are looking to purchase 2016 Freightliner. In the past, we've been heavily on the internationals. Talking with the vehicle maintenance, the mechanics, and even the other municipalities, specifically ODOT, they seem to be going towards the Freightliners and the Peterbilts, and that's because of the longevity. Not to say that our trucks haven't, we've had some decent luck with the internationals. Obviously, the one we want to replace is a 1997. We have 8 large trucks, as you recall, a 97 and 98. 2 2000 models, 102, 105, 107, and the most recent is a 2008. So we haven't purchased a big plow truck since '08. This cost is $139,000 out the door. It'd be built with a Henderson body, dump and plow package, which is pretty solid, in the research that the supervisors have conducted. And again, it's something that we need, and with the emissions that's coming out, I don't know if the chief here has had that with his fire engines, but that's something that's adding anywhere from 12 to 16,000 for the new emissions. That's what it seems to be, the rise in the costs are the same.
So this will be our first Freightliner of the fleet then?
Of the plow trucks, if you recall, the Leaf Vac that we just purchased was a used Freightliner cabin chassis, which we're gonna roll out. I mean, it's came with a warranty, but this is the first Freightliner in a plow truck division.
What's the difference in cost between the Freightliner and the International?
To be honest with you, I don't know that answer. We didn't look at the International because, again, we're moving towards the Freightliner. This is state bid, so it seems to be the hot ticket item. And again, with the research with ODOT and the other municipalities, we decided to go with the Freightliner. Yes, Bill?
What are dealer installed options? That's close to a third of the price. It says $58,000 for dealer installed options.
What were you looking at, Paul? For the 58,000?
No, $58,413.
For the bed.
Oh, that's the
body.
bed?
Yes, that's for the body. The cabin chassis is the Freightliner, and then the Henderson is a separate bid item that will be put together in one unit on the state bid. So that's the entire, I don't know if you have that in front of you, the entire, all the items that are listed. They might not be included. I don't think we put those in there, but I can give those to you.
It just has the quote for the 139.
Yeah, the 58,000 is the Henderson piece, which does the body, for the dump body,
Okay.
plow package. And I have that here. I can make copies for everyone, and I apologize that it's not in your packet.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And this was in your budget, if I recall.
It is.
I'll let Jim's here.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any other comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Well, is there anything else that
Remember when I asked Kathy why we're starting at 6?
needs to come before?
Well, that's a set meeting time.
We gotta be able to change that.
You have no
You
power.
guys always want to go to dinner, now you've got plenty of time for dinner.
Right.
It doesn't take that long to eat a hot dog. I can do that in 5 minutes.
Anything else? Anybody have anything? No? All right, finance meeting's adjourned.
Now that we're done with
Could be a
the
record.
official meeting. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
You go ahead.
don't know about the rest of the members, but I have received a lot of calls for and against the issues that we talked about at our board meeting about the deer. Did I forward you the letter from Mrs. Graham?
That two.
Yeah.
Two emails, yes, sir.
Right.
Right.
Did have a chance to talk to a couple people that lived up in east of Brattonall, the first Chardon area, over the weekend, and they supposedly have a couple parks that are not national parks, just city-owned parks or township-owned parks,
Right.
that they actually do the same thing that she suggested, which was putting food in secluded areas in the parks. And, you know, they said that the problem is you don't have a fixed number to sit there and say, oh, well, by doing that, we've been able to keep 50% of the deer in the park area. But they did say that they had a lot less complaints this year of the deer eating private foliage, flowers and stuff from residents.
Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe it's something in the future that we could.
Right, I thought it might, I think Bill's taking it into his committee, and Jansen and Carol are gathering some information of what other cities are doing that Jeff, G-E-O-F,
Yeah, I think Kathy.
Westerfall or whatever.
Right.
He's willing to come up to any of the committee meetings we have and talk about what recommendations are all the way to culling or short of culling.
Right.
Another thing, Paul and I were at a dinner for the Forest Meadows Homeowners Association, and we're chatting a little bit, but being a former deer hunter, you know, a lot of times when people hunt them, you'll put folks at the far end of the woods, and then some of the hunters will work their way through to drive the deer towards the hunters. Whether or not there would be an option for us to periodically get volunteers to walk through the parks, sometimes even dogs help, and the deer will just naturally move away from you. What that may do is drive them into the townships, which I'm
is
not
fine.
sure how they feel about that, because obviously you have to drive them somewhere. But if you would walk, say, from the high school end of Reagan Park and push them out towards Huffman Road, the reason that they stay where they stay is nobody's bothering them, nobody's
Right.
moving them. The only thing that makes me a little, and this Jeff Westfall?
Westerfield.
Okay. He probably knows much more about it than I do, but a lot of the deer, I take deference with her saying that these deer are starving to death.
Oh, no.
Yeah, these deer are not hungry.
Right.
Oh, they're having 2 or 3 babies. No.
Yeah, I have, you know, apples on the ground, they come back into my yard, and I've got apples and pears and plums that they come in and eat, but they don't eat them all.
Right.
And looking at the deer, you know, that they are not, so I think a natural thing for the deer, even for argument's sake, if we would put corn in the park, is if there are acorns over on Beechwood and they like acorns, they're
Right.
gonna go where those are. If they like apples, they're gonna go where they can find an apple tree. And I think it's just natural for them to kind of walk and eat. It's not that they're looking for other things to eat, it's just in their instinct
Right.
to move and eat as they go. And there's times that in those residential backyards, you'll just see them lay down in the backyard for a few hours, get up and then wander some more. But they travel a pretty wide area. I've heard even 3 to 5 miles, just a deer in its normal, you know, movements during the day. So.
Well, I had, you know, I didn't count the number of calls, but I had equally as many calls of people that didn't want anything done. And they were almost more passionate than the ones that.
Well, and that's why those, I don't know if you recall, I sent an email a few months ago where it's either 6 or 7 communities up around North Royalton, they're actually doing the same language, the same primary, and letting the voters decide.
Right.
You know, either we live with the deer and don't involve ourselves in it at all, or you want us to do something.
Well, and both types of people that called the for and the against of thinning the herd, both were real receptive of trying to encourage,
Alternatives.
well, trying to encourage residents not to feed the deer.
Oh, okay.
You know, both of them agreed that should.
That made sense.
Well, it seems to me, I mean, if you put a citywide ballot, there's many portions of the city that aren't affected really by the deer.
Right.
I mean, like where I live, I maybe see one deer every couple of years. At least,
You're lucky.
so it's really localized to certain areas where, you know, maybe Ward 2 is probably the heaviest traffic. I don't know if Ward 4 has.
Yeah, we got a lot.
But I don't know if Ward 1 or at least Ward 3, I mean,
Maybe a handful.
I have to
Yeah.
imagine down by Roscoe Ewing.
Yeah,
well,
but,
that's in the park though, but,
I mean,
Right.
like I said, maybe a handful of complaints, and most of them came to our board meetings.
Right.
And that's-
but not down where I live.
No, no, I
Brandywine
mean,
and
that's-
stuff.
But I'm saying that the same deer that are like Greenwood Park, they come all the way up to like the Stop and Go, up behind Ella Canavan, you know, because there's a lot of wooded areas and stuff. And I know the people that use, they're not complaining about the deer, but they're telling me every time they use the trail from Broadway to Guilford, it's not unusual to see 5, 6, 8 deer just in that path. They're not bothered by the deer aren't bothering them, but those same deer likely end up then up towards Shaker or any yards on Guilford or whatever. So it's really how tolerant people are with it, or whether they're bothered by it or
That's what
not.
it comes down to.
Yes.
But I guess my point is that a ballot across the city wouldn't be a representation, because
Right, no, I understand what you're saying.
if they're in your
Right.
backyard, you might be more agitated than if
Right.
you never see them, like, I don't, doesn't matter to me.
Right,
It's the
right,
same thing with the geese. The geese are just as nasty.
right.
As the deer are when it comes to after the dinner
Mhm.
parts. Okay, I'll just say it that way.
You know, I thought what would be, you know, a good approach to it, to the issue would be, first of all, try to take the passion out, because there's, both sides are very passionate. You know, I want to feed them and have them in my yard. I don't want to have them. And maybe start out, you know, first of all, with an understanding that being in the city is not a good, you know, either one, being in the city is not a good place to be. Number two, because we have so much parkland, deer are going to be attracted to it. So it seemed like a good approach would be to gather, you know, all the information that we're trying to get now, that would be short of calling. Is there a way to, you know, deter them and push them out of yards back where they could be in, you know, in the parkland or even out to the township? Look at all the alternatives and have that conversation, you know, in committee, and have the people come that are, you know, for feeding them, or I love to have them, have the people here that we've had before, and try to put together whatever would end up being first, you know, a 5 or a 6, 7 point plan, program that we could implement.
6 point buck.
Yeah, or that, and try to, you know, to implement those things and see how well they work. You know, try to take that approach, a step-by-step approach, and see if it has the impact that we want it to have. But I think if we can go into it and get, you know, come to an agreement with the folks who are affected by it in town, that it simply is not a, you know, in the parks is okay, but out of the parks and wandering through the city, because they come, you know, where we live, they come up through, and they come up to my yard on South Court Street, which is just not a good place for a deer to be. And you can understand if people have done a lot of planning or do a kind of gardening, and they want to have these kind of plants, and they get eaten up by it, that's not something that they want to happen. And on the other hand, there are people that are very passionate about, I just want to look at them out my window. Just come to that understanding, it's not a good place to be in town, and see what we can do to alleviate the issue, and maybe we can tamp that down and short of the culling, and just take a step-by-step approach. And we've got time to do it. I mean, we'll do it over a couple of months, because first I think we want to make sure we have all the information that we want, all the possible alternatives, and so that we do the right thing, try to do the right thing by both groups.
Right. Well, like I said, I was kind of surprised the ones that didn't want anything done with the deer were, every one of them that I talked to that had called me were receptive to the idea of trying to encourage our neighbors to be considerate, to stop feeding them.
I mean, the bottom line is, you know, feeding birds is one thing. Feeding a giant mammal in the middle of a city that's full of trucks and people and cars and school buses and, you know, that's probably not a good idea.
Okay. Thank you. That it? Anybody else?
I do have, well, we touched on this subject just a couple of years ago, and I received a letter in the mail from a constituent looking at maybe putting lock boxes on the doors. Changing the subject completely from here. Putting lock boxes on doors for, so safety forces have to come in. We have some older people who are still living at home, but they they don't want to leave the door unlocked, but they still want to be able to have.
Right. Well, the chief has worked with Albright's.
Correct.
What is it, $10?
I don't recall the price.
Like $10, $15, they buy the lock, and we have them set it to the same combo, so that then our safety forces have that to gain access.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we're recommending, rather than the city have to buy that and give it to you. It's something that most of them can't afford, so.
All right, I'll get the details.
Okay.
from you. Okay.
It's similar to a realtor's type lock.
Right, exactly. It's almost what I thought it was when I
Yes.
first looked at the picture that you
Yes.
sent. Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're adjourned.